Hello everyone, welcome to OT1. My name is Norman, and we're going to be reviewing the Canes vs Rangers play-in series of the 2020 NHL playoffs, Game 1. This game truly had it all, especially the first period. They had a fight, 42 penalty minutes in 60 minutes, 38 over the first two periods, and 32 in the first half hour of the game in a best-of-5 series with practically no room for error. This is truly playoff hockey, even though they haven't technically started yet. So I did actually predict the Canes to go through, but it's a tough call. The Rangers have an incredible offense with obviously Panarin and Zibanejad and also Buchnevich, who can produce, but the defense has been the problem all season long, and they still looked iffy during the game against the Canes. The Rangers did not connect with simple passing often, perhaps due to a lack of chemistry, but they need to address this going into Game 2. So, as I said, the first period had it all. They had a fight within the first 3 minutes and a goal by Jacob Slavin in 61 seconds of the game. The Canes did a good job of isolating Artemi Panarin, of isolating Mika Zibanejad, but they still gave away way too many penalties, just like the Rangers did. However, they were very ineffective in the first period, though the power play is bound to produce at some point during the game or during the series. So, like I said, there were 42 penalty minutes over 60 minutes. That needs to be cut out, because as we'll see later in the second period, Sebastian Aho goes on to score during the power play. So the first period was a disaster class for the Rangers, being outshot 12-1, being outscored 1-0. Panarin and Zibanejad barely got the puck, and if they did, they were very isolated, which was a very good tactic by Rob Brind'Amour. However, that changed a bit later on, as we can see obviously with a 3-2 score. But the Rangers never looked likely to score, and the Canes could have easily been up 2 or 3 goals by the end of the first period. Going into the second, Sebastian Aho scores on the power play with a beautiful deflection on a missed Andrei Svechnikov shot. And again, this goes back to the point of giving away way too many stupid penalties, tripping, interference. New York needs to find a solution to the defensive problem, really. Adam Fox has a lot of potential, and the defensive line of New York actually has potential, but again, Adam Fox didn't have a good game. Perhaps he's got too much responsibility on his shoulders already. He missed easy passes, he gave away the puck some occasions, and his position was questionable on occasion too. But later on, obviously, Zibanejad out of nowhere gets a goal, a deflection as well. The Canes clearly tried to make him and Panarin unavailable whenever someone had the puck, but on the flip side, it gives a lot of room for other players on the Rangers to get the puck to work their magic. And that obviously happened with a clear training goal. You get the puck to Zibanejad, Zibanejad just deflects it in the goal. It's routine hockey, but it did actually work. So the period ends with a power play for the Canes. However, but the Rangers got back into the game. Really, they were only being outshot 19-23 at that point. The Canes were more or less not risking too much. They weren't daring in the offense like they were in the first period, and the Rangers were bound to smell blood and could, in fact, have really gone on to score 1, 2, or 3 had they continued on that road during the third period. However, they did not. However, Lundqvist came up big in the third period. There was a big fuss about Lundqvist starting. I also was concerned about that, but in the end, it did prove to be fruitful. Trocheck, after a successful penalty kill by the Rangers, gets a third for the Canes. Yet again, a deflection, and you just have to feel bad for Henrik Lundqvist. The Canes were playing without Dougie Hamilton, as he obviously is still injured, but they didn't look terrible, to be fair, and offensively they looked really dangerous, which is bound to happen obviously with guys like Teravainen, Aho, Svechnikov, and even Trocheck and Williams on the second, third, and fourth line. The Rangers, they seemingly had no desire, no communication, no disciplines, and no sense of urgency when it mattered most. They had only 5 shots in 17 minutes on the period. However, they did take advantage of the game switching off for a moment on their penalty kill with just about 2 minutes ago on a Mark-style slap shot, but it was just too little too late. There were just many instances where 2 Rangers would skate the same way that the puck was in the Canes stick, leaving the ice open for someone else. And the game ended obviously 3-2 with the Rangers being outplayed, outsmarted, and outshot 26-37. So the takeaways of the game really. Lundqvist was imperial and hugely important in keeping the scoreline catchable for the Rangers, but the defense just needs improving. That's been a huge talking point throughout the season, in regular season and in the playoffs. I'm afraid the Rangers might already start packing after game 2 if they do not fix it immediately, and they will need to address it during the off-season as well, obviously. So both teams need to continue to play hard, but they need to remain disciplined, or be outsmarted and outshot massively come the actual playoffs on much better teams when they come up against teams like the Boston, like Vegas, like Washington, with guys like Tom Wilson, Brad Marchand. If they do not keep the cool, if they remain undisciplined, they'll just be outsmarted and they'll go nowhere in the playoffs. So Carolina looked good even without Dougie Hamilton. Their offensive lines are extremely well balanced and dangerous, but you feel that they will need him back if they actually go through to the actual playoffs. But that again remains to be seen. If he's healthy, if he's not, do you risk Dougie Hamilton? And New York needs to find a way to get more players on the puck. If you're going to have Zibanejad and Panarin isolated, you need to have other guys who perform. Obviously, that wasn't really the case today. And if Zibanejad and Panarin did get the puck, and when they did, they truly had no options. You can't just rely on two guys to get you over the line, like we saw with Edmonton Oilers when they relied on McDavid and Draisaitl against the Blackhawks a little later. You need to have the other pieces in the cake also work towards the same goal and helping them out, not only when they have the puck, but also when they don't have the puck. However, Carolina can't just expect the same tactics to keep working over 3, 4, potentially 5 games against Panarin or Zibanejad for that matter, as they both actually did get an assist and Zibanejad did get a goal. But they need to find a way to keep them isolated and to make sure that the others Rangers can't get to the puck or can't help them out like they did very much in the first period. So that's it for this game of the Rangers versus the Kane. I'll obviously do some more. I'll obviously also do other games such as the Leafs against the Blue Jackets, Arizona against Nashville. I don't know if I'll do much about the round robin, as the round robin doesn't have that much importance in the grand scheme of things compared to the play-in rounds. But we'll see what happens. So I'll leave you for now. I've been Norman, and thank you very much for watching.